Okay, this is right now, this is just for me. I'm just doing some video documentation right now. It is June 6th, 2013, 12:29, almost 12, hold on, 12:30. And I'm just having a lot of thoughts about social media right now, and I want to kind of document some things I'm thinking about first so I can write this down. So, I don't know, this might be animated. Okay, wow. So, you have to really look at the whole picture here. The whole picture is I'm 44 years old. I have gone back to school at Full Sail University, working in social media. I am working on a degree in creative writing department. Full Sail University is absolutely phenomenal school. Absolutely, I mean, I'm so blown away by this school. I can't even say enough about it. I went to college out of high school. I was back college bound, and about a year and a half, 2 years into it, I, got married, and I was going to come back and go to school, and I didn't. And so I got married very young at 19 years old, and I wanted to get out there in the real world. I wanted to touch things, and I wanted to feel things, and I wanted to experience things. I was getting very bored in school at Cal State Fullerton. The school was great, and I had some cool classes that still, I remember very significant things I learned, and it was awesome, but I was fidgety, and I wanted to get out and feel like I could just do it. I was ready to do it. So I did. And in that process, I started I say large businesses. In my realm of influence and in who I am and in my community, they were big. Um, I always loved animals. I've been an animal nut since I was a little girl, and so I had a chance to work at a veterinary hospital. And in that process, I just started thinking about, oh, okay, I really like animals. What could I do in this industry? And I ended up going to dog grooming school. At that time, that was kind of popular, getting popular, and you could have your own business and be creative and work with animals and feel like you were helping them. So it was really satisfying my urges to help animals, but yet be creative. Um, where a lot of times the dog groomer is the one that finds the ear infections or the tooth infections or the different things before they go to the vet. So it's definitely a lot of times we're doing veterinary observations. I did that for 10 years. We would buy camper vans and gut them out and put a bathtub inside and a table inside and all the equipment to groom dogs with electrical cord and water pumps and water heaters. And I built many, many vans. I've probably been in the development of about 10, 11 mobile dog grooming vans. I was the first one out in my community, so I'm this hot, young, 20-year-old, ready to take on the world, and I did. In that process, the business got very big very quickly. I was grooming dogs, probably 40, 50 dogs a week. That's a lot. And I started hiring assistants, and pretty soon I started training other girls, and then pretty soon we'd get a second van, and we'd have two vans going, and this van specialized in the big dogs, and this van did this, and next thing you know, 10 years into it, I had 4 vans, about 400 clients a month, and we were all full-time. I saw women come from very difficult situations in their life, and I was able to be a part of teaching them a skill that at that time was hard to develop. There wasn't a lot of schools, so I myself going to school was a big deal. It's like you went to grooming school. Everybody usually learned if you could find a master or a teacher to teach you on the side, and that takes years. I mean, it really can take up to 4 or 5 years to kind of get the gist of handling dogs with, dangerous equipment. That's really the bottom line, and making them look so good and being a good customer service. So I developed these skills, one-on-one with my customers and the dogs and the cats and the girls, and eventually got to the point at about 28, 29 years old where I was wanting to have a second child. I'd had a little boy at 20, and so he'd been an only child for 8 years, and I'd been out there being, the worker of the family. We were developing this business. There was a lot to it. I mean, we had to deal with mechanics. We were having, vans. It was when cell phones were first coming out and pagers, and so we were part of that process. So it was just really exciting learning experience. And then I had my daughter at 29 years old and decided to sell the business. The girls were ready to go. They had, they were women now. They had come as women, but now they were self-sufficient women. And so I sold a van to each one of them, and they took the clients that they had spent, some of them spent 7 years building through this thing. So it was just a really neat way. And those vans, this was in 1990, those vans are still out there today. They're still out there um, going, and these women have owned homes and have, done really amazing things. Some of them have gone and trained other women and kept this going. So I was kind of the grandmother of the mobile dog grooming, Krista's Canine Catering. That was the name, which I don't recommend. Well, I seem to keep doing it, but social media tip, your name, what your business is going to be is very important. If you put your name on it, your personal name, then you always have to be the most important player within the service side of it. So if you always want to have your hand in the customers and the service, do that, because people feel like if they go to someone, like they would call me, Krista, to come out and groom their dog. Well, then pretty soon I wanted to be able to send to other girls because we were getting bigger and I couldn't do everybody. And because my names were on the side of all the vans, it became a problem, because then the girls would want to go and they go, well, we want Krista. Not necessarily that I was any better than the next groomer, but my name was on the van. So I really don't recommend you putting your personal name on your business unless you are going to keep it very small and you'll always be the nucleus of it, in amongst the people, because that's what they're going to be looking for. Now, obviously, that can also change. Look at Wendy's, fast food chain restaurants. I mean, who was Wendy? Was there really a Wendy? Is she the one? Does she have the vision for Wendy's? I don't know the story. It'd be a good story to find out. But then you can make a name, a brand name too. But you just have to really think about that. You have to think about that. Krista's Canine Catering was a brand name. People knew what it meant, and they did know after time. They began to trust me that anyone that came out in one of my vans had been trained to represent the ethics and the work that I was putting out there, and they did see that, but it took time, and there was conflict. When the girls eventually bought the businesses, they had their own clients through Krista's Canine Catering. Over time, they've been building, and eventually it was clients that I didn't even know, which ended up being good, because then if I'm going to send out somebody and the phone call comes in and it's a certain dog, and I say, hey, that'll be good for, Susie over here, then Susie goes to groom the dog. I'm only the person on the phone getting the calls. I still always did my own phones, because people, another social media tip, whether it's small business or not, or if you are going to be answering phones, nowadays we can do everything through email. But if you are going to be answering phones, make sure the person on the phone really represents the heart of your business. Because if you get somebody on the phone and they're like, yeah, yeah, we groom dogs. Yeah, what do you want? What do you need? Yeah, I don't know when we can get to you. We'll call you back. You're going to lose customers. So you need to have your best players on the phones, or yourself. You might get to the point where you just do all the phones, which was what I was trying to do in the end of that business. I was getting to the point, because I'd had my daughter, I was actually trying to keep it. And what my idea was that I would be able to stay home with my daughter and basically answer the phones and keep the van stocked and keep all the girls going. And that worked for a little while. But here's what happens. If you do your job well and you train people and you do a good job, they are going to go start their own businesses. So as a business owner, another tip for businesses, I don't know, I'm just throwing them out there as they come. Another tip, if you do your job well and you train people and you do it from the right heart, they are eventually going to blossom, and they are eventually going to need to take the next step. And the next step in evolution for everybody is to continue to challenge ourselves to the next level of what we want to do. And I was an example to those women for that. Many of them emulated the exact plan that we had created over 10 years. And I say we, because this group of ladies, we learned together. And Once a year, another social media tip, once a year in your business, make sure that you have a meeting and have new goals for the year. New Year's Day or the day after, you should be meeting with your staff right away and setting new goals for the year, because you're taking all the lessons that you learned from the year before, all the things you're not going to do again, and you're setting a special time, making your employees, making your people, feel a part of this team. And that was another thing. Because and I was learning, you guys got to remember, my first business I did at 20 years old. I was in my 20s. So I had no idea. I was just going off pure instinct and what I'd watched my mother and my older sisters do in their lives. So I was just learning as I went. And we were all making mistakes in our communication with customers, and we'd get together, okay, we got to make the customer number one. We'd have to have those talks, and we have to be respectful. And if they have a problem, we can't get irritated. We had to talk about those things. We had a lot of meetings. Another social media working business tip: if you have a group of people around you, you better stay connected to them. What happens a lot of times is you've got a group and everybody's getting to know each other. And I'm not talking about necessarily pouring your personal lives into each other, because I think that can be a problem as well, based on experience. That can be a problem as well. And what that is they know everything about you, and you want to have some respect, they will stop respecting you. Because if they know that you're on your period, or if they know that, every little detail about everything, or, your sex life, or, you bring all those problems to work as a boss, pretty soon everybody's going to see the chinks in your armor. And don't think, because the way that nature is, people are trying to climb to the top, as they should, they're not going to put their foot in that little chink and step right up. And they will, every time. And it's human nature, guys. I'm not even saying it's bad. It's human nature. So if you want to maintain respect from your employees, or the people underneath you, or the people you're motivating, you need to keep a certain level of private life. I made the mistake, although I do not regret it, and I would do it the exact same way again in my early years, having everybody come into my home, which was my business, my office. It was within my kitchen, hooked to my kitchen. We made breakfast together. We had tea together. We bonded. And those times were so beautiful and so awesome and empowering when you're developing a team of people. So all I'm saying is, you don't necessarily, when you start breaking bread together, now, things change. Now, outside of work, at the end of the day, if you want to go out to dinner, you want to do things, but again, everybody's watching you. If you drink too much, make a fool out of yourself, or you have an argument, you don't want to have tension explode in an explosive situation. So, I don't know, some things to think about. I think also that, if you do have a friendship within your business, if you do become close and you do cross that line, because it can happen. It happened to me every time. I always say I won't do it. It happens every time. Because I'm just a really open person, and I guess there's a part of me that's like, all right, this is who I am. Weaknesses and all. I have very strong attributes, and I have weak spots. If you're in my personal life, because my businesses for me have always become all consuming. I've always had home-based businesses. It's very hard to separate family, friends, business, employees. It all becomes one. Some of you guys out there are really able to compartmentalize this. I can't even say the word. And that's great. We're all different. It's not about, it's just you do have to make separations of these areas. So decide what you want. Whatever, okay, here's the secret. Whatever you want your business to look like. Okay, so right now you have this picture in your mind of what your business is going to be and exactly how you want it to look. And maybe that is, you know what? I want to be able to have somebody else answer the phones. I want to be able to get in my car and take off and go to Glen Ivy and do mud spa baths on the weekends, or maybe on a Tuesday and have the girls run the office. Whatever your picture is, because your business should work for you. You're the one who's put the time into it. You're the one who's put the blood, sweat, and tears behind the scenes, not sleeping at night, dreaming of your dream, and you're training all of these people. They didn't invest in that. They're hopping on your dream. So, you know what? You better put you in the equation. somewhere. And that's just my power punch. Okay, put yourself in the equation. Because if you don't, then you won't be in it. And the business will run you. So you have to be very clear before you go into whatever your business is, that you know how you want this picture to look in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years. And I'm not saying it's going to be that picture, but if you don't even go into it with an idea, you're not going to even, you're just not going to, it's going to take a life of its own, and you'll be dragging behind it. Take it from some experience. So if you want your employees or the people around you to respect you, then you need to set that up from the beginning. You know, you have other friends to talk to about all your personal problems. Again, if you do become friends with everybody, and that does become, then you're going to need to keep a lot of communication open all the time with those people. Because things creep up. I'm just talking like women. I mean, working with a group of women is like, oh my gosh, you know, it's a talent in itself. So if you're working with a group of women, you know what? Amplify their talents. Amplify who they are. If you've got one of those people that maybe just cuts to the core in their communication all the time, and they're sharp as an edge, and it's like, oh, it's like a dagger in your heart when they speak. But you know what? Put that person on the, you know, on the investigative side of your business, and have her finding the problems, you know, instead of putting it on you guys. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, if you have somebody that's, you know, bubbly and talking, and, you know, don't put them in the back where nobody is. Put them on the phones. They'll talk all day long. You know, and don't get mad if they overtalk, but you gotta take the good with the bad. But, you know, look at your talents of your staff. Look at the talents of the people around you. And you know what? Train and teach and give with all your heart, and do it from the right heart. And if you do it right, in 7 years, they'll go move on your own, and you'll have a poster child. Okay? And you'll train somebody else up new. If you are a good teacher, and it's frustrating because you might have spent 3 years invested in an employee or in someone to help run your business, and you put all this sweat, blood, and tears into them, and then all of a sudden you get the phone call. I just want to let you know I'm leaving, and I'm going to start my own thing down the road. What? 3 years? 3 years? But see, what you don't know is that in those 3 years, you learned more than they did. And you can duplicate that. It's going to take them a long time to duplicate all that, because they got to go through all their own being the owner thing. Let them have it. And there's somebody new and fresh that'll come along and bring new, fresh energy to your business. Okay, guys, I guess I am talking to somebody. I started out with this as a document of my own personal thoughts, but you know what? I'm just putting a few thoughts down. I have like hundreds more to share. I'm trying to put this in some kind of presentation that would work. I have some great ideas, and I believe that I can prove my ideas based on my 30 years of running businesses, being self-employed, entrepreneur, self-starter, and now getting into the world of real social media through the internet. I'm a backyard cowgirl, and you guys are going to see my books on the shelves. I'll tell you that right now. Talk to you soon.